This is a little heavy, and you know,
Sorry.
so no, but it's important because we're looking at our history of our own choices in life, our families, and looking back perhaps. But what's really great about food as medicine is that the choice to change that trajectory can happen as soon as the next meal, right? So that's a beautiful thing, and so that's what you really focus on, right? How, and you as well, like how to flip from and avoid some of the toxins, both in the food, on the food, or in the environment generally, and or how to counteract that by limiting those toxins and choosing food for health.
And there's studies that show that within 1 week, 90% of the pesticides were reduced in a family in Sweden that went organic, and within 2 weeks, 100% were out of their system and out of their body. So it can be done very quickly.
Now that's very encouraging, I think. Yes. That's the beauty of it. Maybe you don't know exactly which foods are right for your dosha, for your body type, and you might want to do some research online or go see a professional. But what you do know is if you can avoid the bad and shoot for the good, then you're on the right direction.
What you were just describing, Zen, what that says to me is that we have a profound ability to change our health, and that probably the most important thing is not even worrying so much about pesticides or contaminants, but just simply choosing healthy food, because it will be restorative, not quite overnight, but almost so. Within a week, 2 weeks, we see changes in the pattern of the gut microbiome in a matter of days. And we can influence this.
They did eat organic, though. They were purposely avoiding pesticides.
Sure.
Family. Yes.
Sure. Oh, I'm not advocating that people continue eating even plant foods that are contaminated.
Okay, great.
But the thing is that just simply stopping that and replacing it with healing foods that help to bind and take toxins out of the body and replace them with really good things can have a profound, almost overnight effect. And with regard to the gut microbiome, we talk a lot about the fermented foods, and I'm a big fan of them, but the singularly most important thing we can do, again, is a whole food plant-based diet that provides the fiber and the resistant starch that nourishes the microbes that are already there. It feeds the good guys, and it doesn't feed, it actually sort of starves, although I don't want to use the negative term, but it doesn't feed the opportunistic ones that overgrow and cause so many problems. So just simply, the singularly most important thing is change your diet in this healthy way, and the effects are profound.
Yeah. This is good, because most of us are used to the sort of Western paradigm, which is, what drug do I get, or what procedure do I need? Let me keep eating my honey bun or Cinnabon. But no. so how is yours is very different. You're very different.
Well, years ago when I studied some of the more ancient healing systems, Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic, it was intuitive to me that you started with food and lifestyle. And you create the conditions for health with these. And then only when those aren't sufficient do you then go up sort of the ladder or the pyramid toward increasingly invasive kinds of things. If you're in a car accident, you go straight to the trauma center. You don't waste your time with diet and herbs and all that. But
write that down, folks.
If you're unconscious, that's not the time to do psychotherapy. Well, actually, a calming influence is always a good thing. And healthy food, when a person recovers, is the first thing after the crisis has been resolved. So we have to use really good judgment. But in naturopathic medicine, they came up with this concept called the therapeutic order. And it really holds that diet and lifestyle is the foundation. Most things, before we ever even medicalize them and give them a label and scare people with all this workup and evaluation, they'll simply resolve if we change the health conditions through diet and lifestyle. And then if that's not sufficient, we use targeted natural therapeutics, herbs, acupuncture, allopathic medicine when that's not sufficient. And then, of course...
What's allopathic medicine?
Allopathic is Western medicine, the way the common understanding of disease or symptom focused, and pharmaceutically or surgically based interventions at the forefront. I think it's also important to not put the focus just on glyphosate. I'm not saying it's a healthy thing at all, but the same kinds of dietary changes that will reduce glyphosate also change the food in many other ways. When you're eating refined products, they have 1,000 things, including glyphosate perhaps, but also many other negative attributes. And so we can't just pin it on the glyphosate and say that's That's the evil thing, because we're like the 7 blind men with the elephant and saying it's just the trunk or it's just the tail. We really need to think about, and not even focusing on villainizing things, but on focusing in a positive way on what we want to move toward. And I come back again, like a broken record, to a whole food plant-based diet, not a refined diet, but one that has intact kernel whole grains, not villainizing them because, oh, they may contain gluten or they may contain, glyphosate or whatever, but because they are rich in healing properties that nourish the microbiome from underneath, create that balance, create good gut-brain connections, activate genes in the brain, change the expression in the brain that code for neurotransmitters that make us happy, reduce our stress, reduce our anxiety. So changing the dietary pattern in this way, I think, is really that. I want people to focus in a positive way on what they can do to help themselves.
There was a study out recently that showed that women who were doing IVF to get pregnant, that were eating fruits and veggies, the ones who ate the fruits and veggies with pesticides on it had lower levels of success. So it's not factual to just say eat your fruits and veggies. If you really want to be healthy and to get pregnant and to have healthy children, it does need to be organic fruits and veggies for the best outcome.
Well, actually, Zen,
Ideally.
I would totally turn that around, and I would put veggies way before fruit, and I would put whole grains and veggies at the top, because people have a misconception about what is even healthy within a plant-based diet. Fruits are important, especially when it's the right season for them, but we want to have greater diversity. And when we're encouraging people to have clean versions of these and life energy filled versions of these, we don't. I also wonder, when you mention people who, women who are undergoing IVF and didn't have as good a result, it may have been a function of what was in the fruits and veggies they were eating, or maybe they were missing other things in their diet that were healing. It may have also been that their awareness of that was a reflection of other, or lack of awareness of that was a reflection of other things. Were they more likely to be smoking, to be, drinking alcohol, to not exercise? So I think we have to be careful to say, oh, it was their non-organic fruits and veggies that was the cause, when it was part of a larger pattern.
Well, but when we know that there's pesticides that cause endocrine disruption and impact, fertility,
of course.
we know that now. So especially with glyphosate, so it's just not factual. I'm just saying to tell people to eat whole fruits and vegetables without addressing the issue of pesticides.
And then there's also some information that's been out there that says, like, millennial generation is the generation that has, it's something like less than 30% actually know how to cook. And there's no desire to. So it's not like they're refusing. It's just that there's no desire to. It's a different kind of generation, and they're not doing that. All of those things mean that like it or not, we're falling on processed foods in some fashion.
Well, we're about out of time, and I just sort of want to close with a final thought. It's something my husband often says. There's a lot of information that's been imparted today, from the sort of 30,000 view perspective and down into the weeds on the positive and on the potential negatives. And I guess he likes to say that you should never let the perfect be the enemy of the good enough. And we all have to make the steps and take the steps that we're ready and able to make at this point in our life, and hopefully heading toward perfection and on a right trajectory. But we all do the best we can. Listen, keep this conversation alive. We will continue to engage. We'll bring in the panelists. Just hashtag Food is Medicine on Twitter and or Facebook. And we want to keep this going, because I think this is fundamentally the most fundamental building block of our own health, and as it turns out, the health of our communities and the environment. Thank you for coming. Bye-bye, folks on Facebook.